Hi there, welcome to the Gardens and Graveyard channel. My name is Charisma and today we're meeting in the garden and we're going to move a couple of perennials to create space for a new perennial that I just bought and to create some cohesiveness in the garden beds that we're working in. So the first garden bed that we're working in is the one right behind me. I have a K-Anomalies and a Curia japonica. There's also a Midnight Masquerade, no, Beyond Midnight Bluebeard, and there's a rhododendron, and there's a barberry, and there's a couple of rows of Sharons. This bed is nearly complete, but there's some little final touches that I want to add. And one of those things that I'm going to add today are a couple of philopendulum. And they are tall, they're 4 foot tall. They've got like an airy, wispy kind of look to them. Everything in this garden right now has a very strong, bold, kind of like stable structure, and I need some movement to happen in this part of the garden. So I'm gonna dig a couple holes there, and then we're gonna move the philopendulum that are in the bed next to us right over here, underneath the staghorn sumacs. On the far side there's two philopendulum. Wow, I just cannot say that word today. There's a variegated variety and a solid variety, and they're two different colors. One is red, but it's pink, and one is white. So we're gonna dig them out from over there and put them in this bed, and then we're gonna add a new perennial to this bed. So first I'm gonna dig these holes. As a reminder, if you are new to my channel or have missed anything, this front part of the garden was all covered in black plastic before I moved in here, and there was a really old bark on top of it, and we live on a gravel road. So when we dig in this space, we first uncover the mulch, which we have put 2 layers of mulch ourselves on here. And then we have to cut away the black plastic that we discover. And I try to peel away a little bit more every time, more than I need for the plant, but it's just too big of a chore. If I would have done it correctly, I would have pulled all the mulch out, pulled all the plastic out before I ever started planting in here, because when we moved in, there were no plants in this space. As a matter of fact, our moving truck parked right over all this stuff, all this planting area, to move us into the house. So anyhow, I didn't do that. That would have been the smart way to do it. But so I have to cut away the black plastic, and then underneath the plastic, it is completely full of big chunky gravel. So it's quite difficult to dig in, but it creates fantastic drainage. So anyway, I'm gonna dig out these philopendulums and then we'll move those over. Before I move them, let me just show you what it's looking like underneath here right now. So I have this clump right here and this clump right here, and then the rest of the bed has columbine in it, and we have it encapped with a winter hazel here and a winter hazel in the back. And then that really strappy grassy texture right there is a liberatia. I'll have to look at it again. I'm always forgetting the name of that plant. Anyhow, I want another grassy, strappy kind of texture on this side. So I bought a different plant that's gonna go right here. So these two plants are gonna get moved down that way. These plants also want full sun, and as you can see, the sumac has grown up and it shades them quite a bit. They don't seem to be suffering terribly from it, and they are protected from the wind with it. So I'm a little bit worried about the wind over there, but I think between those shrubs they'll be a little bit protected anyway. So anyhow, I'm gonna move these. Granted, it's not the most ideal time to move them. I should be moving them when they're either much smaller or in the fall when they've gone dormant. But right now is when I have everything that I need and I'm ready to do it. So we're just gonna make it happen. I wanted to show you what is going on here. This particular one is growing right next to the trunk of this sumac, and the sumac roots have grown over the rhizomes of this plant. So this is the plant that I'm digging out, and it has these rhizomes, and you could see it's either grown under or this is grown over. Either way, you could see how entangled the roots have become. So I'm trying to, like, this is a sumac root, which can be cut away. It most likely comes from that first sumac that we planted. And then, so see this? This is the root system that I'm trying to save, and it's underneath this root as well. So I'm carefully digging underneath both sets of roots to create space for this one to move underneath, so I can slip it underneath the root that's coming up over it. So, not exactly what I was anticipating for this project, but here we are. Here we go. It's coming. Let's see. This is it. Oh, there's another piece of it. Okay. All right, so now she's free, but she's certainly not part of the major plants. They all came out in small clumps. This is the biggest clump that I grabbed, but it doesn't have any foliage on it. So we're gonna plant them. I'm gonna cut this one out. This is way too large to cut out, so we'll leave that, but we'll take this out and cover this space up, fill in that hole. And then we've got this hole right here where the other one came out pretty easy. So let's go and try to salvage what we can and put these in the ground. Since the soil over here is so full of rock, I like to throw a little compost in the bottom of my plantings, and then also some plant tone, which is a slow release fertilizer. And now we are just gonna try to snug some of these in. I might save a couple of these and put them in a different place. But these bigger ones with a lot of top growth, I'm a little concerned about, just because that's a lot of growth to support with their root system, and in this way, since they kind of got broken up. Anyways, we're gonna do what we can, salvage what we can. We might cut some of these back so that just the leaves are growing and not the flowers. I have to sacrifice the flowers this year. I don't know. got here. Oh my gosh, you made this? It's so beautiful.
There are at least 5 different hardwoods in
Oh my gosh.
there. They're all hardwood.
Wow.
I've made over 20 of them now.
Fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, well.
So I have a rhizome that broke off. I'm just gonna pop it in the ground over here. And a chunk of this that broke off from the main plant. So we're just gonna put it in a separate place because it's already kind of suffering. I'm just gonna cut the top part of it off. So that its roots can concentrate on growing. So I'm just going to use the hole that the first plant came out of, and it was not hindered by any sumac roots. I'm going to put some compost in the bottom, some plant tone, and then I'm going to plant this beautiful plant. This is a blue lily of the Nile, and I'm excited to get it in here. Oh, it's quite. Might have to cut this one out. Well, I'll say that's a little bit root bound. We just bought this from the nursery this morning. I think it's been sitting there for a while, don't you? Thanks. Even the top, circling around the top even. So here underneath the sumacs, I have to say that I do really love not having that filipendula in there anymore. It just, it gives the leaf canopy of the tree to be separated from the leaf canopy of the lower planting, rather than making it all kind of jumbled together. So I'm really happy with that. I know that this is the plant that we planted right here. It is relatively in the same space as that plant is to the this winter hazel, and that plant to that winter hazel. This plant will fill in this space right here by next spring, no problem. And then we just have, so this is the lily of the Nile. So we have a winter hazel. Then we have this weeping, what is this? A fill-in blue deodar cedar. So this is an evergreen that'll fill in this whole space, and it stays low to the ground. So then we have the lily of the Nile, and then all throughout here we have columbine, a bunch of different colors, and then we have this liberatia. Is that what it is? Like 100 times. Look at this thing. Libertia grandiflora, New Zealand satin flower. So we have that here, and then we have another winter hazel on this side. Along the edge, we have little clumps of yellow-eyed grass, which I'm encouraging to hopefully, you know, keep spreading around the whole edge and kind of make a border. The next thing I need to do in here is clean up some of the dead branches and the sumac. There's a couple of volunteer sumacs I need to pull out. The seed heads on the columbine need to get cut down, as well as the seed head on these satin flowers. So it'll get cleaned up and then mulched, and then that bed will be done. And then again, so we have the deodar cedar down that end. That's going to be a low cover, low growing evergreen. And then we have this low growing evergreen that's I think this is a juniper of some kind right here. Slow growing. And then we have a leprechaun shrub, which is, you know, a little random, but I just love that plant. All right, and then over on the other side of is this bed, and we have the flowering quince right here. This is the double red from Proven Winners. And then I had some broken pieces of the filipendula with just the straight green leaves, and this has a pink flower, so I put a little clump here. We put the other larger clump right here. I need to get some stakes. The stakes I grabbed were wimpy, so that's not going to work. We may end up just coming in here and cutting this one back like we did this one right over here. I had another clump, a big chunk of rhizome, and a small clump with leaves on it. I just topped it so that there isn't too many leaves and flowers for this plant to have to support. I really want the roots to grow in right there. And we have the Rose of Sharon, we have a barberry, so this is a nice variegated wispy texture in between those plants. And then behind the green filipendula that we planted, I planted the other variegated one. And we don't look at the one that's leaning over. I really love this airy texture that is going to be provided by those plants. I was looking at it from this direction, and oh, my neighbor stopped by and he made me this beautiful cutting board. Isn't that precious? Gosh, the best neighbors. All right. Anyway, so I have planted this here, and I really love the structure, how it gives it some movement. It's just as tall as the Curia japonica. It just kind of finishes this bed, I think. So I'm really happy with it. I think it's gonna be a really great addition there, and I'm really happy with how much cleaner that's gonna look, especially once we go through and remove all the seed heads. That's gonna do it for today's video. It was challenging and satisfying, but it's really great to have plants placed in new places in the garden. And hi Spencer, you haven't been around.
I know.
Yeah, so I'm really glad the project's over, but I'm also really glad that the project's over because now it looks really beautiful and I'm happy with it. So I hope that you're celebrating your life, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.